I've had a number of people ask, how do I create these roses? And also, what is the material that I put on the surface of the rose to keep those petals together? Well, I'm going to answer those questions and more in this video. Now, I first want to point out that I'm not the original creator of this design of the rose. I don't know who is. I've seen them in a lot of mosaic pieces over the years, and certainly I've been using them for a number of years as well. But I'm not sure who the original person was that actually designed this specific rose. So anyway, I'm going to show you how I create this rose, and this is just my way of doing it. It doesn't mean it's the only way of doing it. There's lots of different ways of doing it. But firstly, I like to have a centerpiece which is going to be a little bit darker. So I'm using this color glass. I'm also wanting to use some lighter color, some darker colored glass for some darker petals to go around the center, and also some lighter glass as well. Now, of course, you don't have to do it this way. You can have two types of glass or even one type of glass. It really doesn't matter. But in both of my colors here, I've got a different colored petal there. So for the start, I like to use either the Leponitt double-wheeled nippers or the QEP double-wheeled nippers. When I'm actually cutting them to shape, I like to use the QEPs, but when I'm actually cutting the petals or the long pieces, then I like to use the Leponitt double-wheeled nippers. But it is personal preference. If you only got one pair, then just use that pair. It's not going to be a big difference. It's just that that's the way that I tend to create them. So first up, I'm going to just cut off a piece of the glass for the center, and I'm just going to round that. And how big you want to have the center really is up to you. And I'm not even going to really round it in any great way. I'm really just going to cut some of those edges off because the flowers out in the world are not perfect. And I'm just going to do something like that. If you want to go in and round those corners a bit more, or if you want to grind it, that's totally up to you. I generally don't grind them because I have a lot of these flowers to create, so I'm not going to grind them. Now, obviously, if the piece is going to be handled by people or someone's going to be climbing over it, you know, it's an outdoor piece, then you'd really want to get those sharp edges off. But certainly this particular piece is going to be used on the gazing ball, and it's not going to be handled by anyone. Now, for this particular outer petals here, I'm going to use my Leponitt double-wheeled nippers, as I said before, and I'm just going to create some just smaller shards and then gradually go a little bit bigger on them. And I'm going to do the same with this lighter piece of glass. So we're just cutting them willy-nilly, basically. There you go. We can always cut more. Put those aside. Now I've got my center here. Now, if this flower was being looked at from a side, then you wouldn't have your center looking so rounded. You'd probably have a half center, a half round, rather than a full-on round. This is your design. It's your take on a rose. So don't try and get it to be perfect, because perfection is the killer of creativity. Okay, got the smaller piece here. My fingers are in the way, I'm sure of it, but this will give you some idea anyway. And you'll be able to see it easier on the bigger petals. So we're just creating a little bit of a round here, and I've also cut out the center just here, just so it wraps around the center of the flower there, the bud. And then what I'm going to do is cut another one. That already has a bit of a round in it. So I'm just going to get that and slightly overlap it. Actually, I'll cut that a bit more. If you want to, you can grind these, but like I said before, I don't really worry about it. And then I'll get another piece here. Just try and keep the formation of the rose as tight as possible, because otherwise, if you don't, then the grout will fill up those gaps, which is not a major problem, but you know, a rose is a fairly tight formation, so that's what I'm aiming for. Sometimes I don't work out that way. Some of my roses have not turned out brilliantly, but when it's in the mosaic, you can't really, you're not picking out each individual rose anyway, so it really doesn't matter, because people look at the overall design. That's it there. And it doesn't matter. See how this one here, hope you can see it on camera, this one here is a bit wider. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because what people are going to see is going to be a rose. Okay, now I'll add a little bit of a wider one here. Take that edge off. I like to have the petals rounded a little bit here. In this particular case, I don't like my petals. Now this is just me having, for instance, we would put this here, which would work. See how that's aiming that way? I like to have it that way, but that's just a personal opinion. So you're trying to keep a pretty straight formation there, a pretty tight formation. Now I'm going to start adding some lighter colours. Now you may want to continue all around with the darker glass. It's a personal preference, but I'm going to add some lighter colours. And how big you create your rose is up to you. How many petals you want to cut out, the size. It is going to be a personal preference. That's better. Like I said before, sometimes you get really lucky and your petals will just come out just perfect. Now I won't do a big one. This is just showing you, so I don't want to take up all your time. I'm just showing you how to do a big rose. It's just adding petals. It's quite addictive, to be honest. One piece just in there. So that's the rose. Now what we need to do is we want to be able to move them like this. So the petals, because it takes a bit of effort to actually get those petals exactly how you want it. So we want to be able to, and we can stack them then. So what I'm using is I'm using this material. And what it is this is a floor graphic material that I actually got from my company that I used to have from quite a number of years ago. And I'll put a link up the top of the screen here somewhere, details this particular film. Now, you can also use sticky tape, you can use masking tape, there's lots of different other materials. There's even Mosaic tape that you can use, specific Mosaic tape. Video that I put the link to up on the screen there will detail where you can go to actually get and give you some ideas on where you go to actually get that type of film. But like I say, there is specific masking, there is specific tape, clear tape, that Mosaic stores, some Mosaic stores do sell, whether online or in their stores. So you want to check that out as well. Because it's self-adhesive, all I'm going to do is peel the back off, like that. And without moving the rose, I'm just going to then stick it on, straight down. And then get my finger and rub over it. And all I'm going to do is just cut that out. Okay, and then what you can do is you can then stack this. Oh, there's one without a coloured centre. It's the same material, it's the same glass on the whole rose. And all you do is just stack it with all the others. And that's good for you to use later. And I hope you've taken something away from the video. If you have any comments, please put them down in the bottom of the comment section of the YouTube channel. I always like reading them, and I know my other viewers do as well. Try and say that fast. Share the video if you wish to. Put a like there as well, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy.